I saw this idea of a man who was having to deal with his death. I've never seen that in a game before. It's an idea that we've seen in films and we've seen in books, but seeing it in a game, that blew me away. I couldn't really, even early on when I first started working on the cinematics, I had kind of trouble wrapping my head around it. Like, what would you go through during these times? So you'll see in the game, we touch on those. I mean, we touch on those very heavily at the very beginning of the game of how it is to be dead and discover that.
How the hell did I survive that?
I directed the life review segment, which is basically the opening of the game. We wanted to compress within as short a period of time as possible a backstory for our character so that you really understood who he was and what he was about.
Basically leads you into the life of the character and kind of gives you a little backstory about who Ronan is, how he got to where he is. It's kind of a flashback to all these key moments in his life, starting with birth all the way through to his marriage, to his death, and some interactions in between that kind of describe what his life was and who he was as a person.
Let me take it.
But we wanted to do it in a way that wasn't just a big wall of text or dialogue. So what we did was we looked at our character and we said, you know what, this character has a lot of iconic elements about him that we spent a lot of time developing. Let's take those iconic elements and weave those visually into a backstory that will give you a sense of who he is.
You steal my car, you pay the price.
Inside one person there can be polar opposites. There can be a criminal and a hero. And we wanted to make that subtext to who he is and his actions and what guides him. But we also thought, you know, why not make that a rather obvious part of his character.
Ronan O'Connor, you're under arrest for the assault and battery of Vincent Coulter.
Guilty on 2 counts of grand theft auto.
On the indictment of burglary, grand larceny, and assault with a deadly weapon.
So we focused more on his tattoos than anything else, which you never really get to see in the game much. So getting the chance to see them here up close is a really nice way of doing it. So we basically focused on what happened to him as a child. For example, forced into getting his first tattoo from his father because he had committed his crime and his dad was really proud of him for that.
Those things lead to him being a cop as a result of trying to kind of clean up his life, mainly because he fell in love and wanted to stick with that woman and clean up his act for her.
Right?
They do.
Hell yeah, I do.
She gets murdered. A whole bunch of different series of events happen that lead to him getting to where he was. He becomes somewhat reckless as a police officer and eventually leads to his own death, which then basically starts the game for the player.
Grow up on the streets, you start thinking you're invincible. Nothing can touch you. You never really lose. Go to arrest some freak, find out you aren't as invincible as you thought.
What kind of name is Ronan?
That kid stole my wallet!
Time to make it official.
It hurts!
You steal my car, you pay the price.
Ronan O'Connor, you're under arrest for the assault and battery of Vincent Coulter.
Guilty on 2 counts of grand theft auto.
On the indictment of burglary, grand larceny, and assault with a deadly weapon.
Let me take it.
I can't have my sister marrying some bum, right?
They do.
Hell yeah, I do.
No, Juliet. Stay with me, you hear me? Julia. No, stay with me. Stay with me.
Your family wore felonies like badges of honor. Now you think this new badge covers all that up? You're a fucking criminal.
You need to slow down, man. Right? This is crazy. If I didn't know better, I'd say you actually want to die.